Okay, welcome to our EOC review. We are going to be talking about equations and inequalities and all the things you need to remember to be successful on your EOC test. The first thing we want to talk about is the distributive property. It means that you're going to multiply each term inside the parentheses by the number outside the parentheses. So here we get A times B plus C. So we're going to say A times B, and that's going to give me AB plus A times C. So A times C is positive AC. Then we're going to do A times B minus C. So we say A times B is AB. And then A times negative C is going to be negative AC. And it has a reminder here, check your signs and follow the integer rules. Now this is the next box here says variables on both sides. So this is how do you solve an equation with variables on both sides. So you're going to distribute if necessary, combine any like terms, collect those variables on the same side of the equation. Then we're going to collect our constants on the other side of the equation. We're going to solve the equation by isolating that variable, and then we're going to plug it in to see if it makes the equation true. So I'm going to use those steps to walk us through, okay? So we're going to work out this equation here. All right, and so we really have distribution on both sides of our equal sign. So I'm going to start over here on the left side, and remember that this is negative, and it's actually -1. There's an invisible 1 there that we need to distribute. So I'm going to say -1 times 14 is -14. -1 times -9c is going to be a positive 9c. And I'm going to put equals, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the side. 4 times 2c is 8c. 4 times 5 is positive 20. So now the next step was combine any like terms. But that means like terms on the same side of the equal sign, and we don't have any on either side. Then it says collect your variables on one side. And I like to move my smaller variable. That's just my preference. Some people like to always move the variables to the left side. I just like to move my smaller one. So 8c is here, and it is my smaller variable. It's a positive 8c, so when I move it, I have to subtract 8c on both sides. So when I do that, I'm left with -14, and then this is 9c minus 8c, so that's positive 1c left, or just positive c. Then 8c minus 8c, that's going to leave us with 0, okay? And then we've got this plus 20. So now we want to get all the constants to one side. We got all the variables on one side. We want to get the constants on the other side. So we're going to take this -14 and move it to the other side, because that's where our variables are. We want to move that away from our variables. So to move -14, we have to add 14. We're using inverse operations here. So -14 plus 14, that's 0. So it zeroes out, and we're left with C equals 20 plus 14, which is 34. So that's our answer. And we solved it using those steps. And then it says just you can plug it in. So we can take our calculator here, and we can plug this 34 in for C and see if it makes the equation true. So -14 minus 9 times 34, and that's going to give me 292. Then I'm going to say 4 times 2 times 34 plus 5, and that gives me 292. So I got the same thing for both sides of the equation, so that would be a true statement. All right, let's look back at our cheat sheet. It says types of solutions. So you can have one solution, no solution, or all real numbers. So here, only one value will make the equation true for one solution. So that means that there's only one number you could plug in that will work to make that true. So if you have something like 2x equals 10, the only thing we could plug in there would be a 5. So there's one solution there, because we would divide by 2 on both sides and we would get 5. No solution. And this would be there is not a value that makes the equation true. So you could have something like 3x plus 9 equals 3x minus 6. And so we would start by moving all of our variables to one side. So we would subtract 3x, because this is a positive 3x, we'd subtract 3x on both sides. And what happens there is that our variables are going to zero out. 3x minus 3x, that's 0. So I'm left with 9 equals 3x minus 3x, that's 0. I'm left with negative 6. 9 does not equal negative 6, so that's not a true statement, which means there's no solution. And then the other way you might have heard all real numbers said is infinitely many solutions. So here it says any real number will make the equation true. And the example would be if you had something like 2x minus 8 equals 2x minus 8. So again, we would start by moving the variables to one side. So we'd subtract 2x. 2x minus 2x zeroes out. And I have negative 8 equals negative 8. So I'm left with a true statement. Anytime you get a true statement, that is going to be all real numbers or infinitely many solutions. Okay, and then it says solving inequalities. So that's when you have a less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to symbol there, okay? It says you're going to apply the same steps as solving equations, but you have to remember to flip that inequality sign when multiplying or dividing both sides by a negative value. Solutions to inequalities include a set of values. It's not just one number, it's a set of values and can be represented on a number line. So if we were saying x is greater than 4, remember that's the 4 is not included, so we would draw an open circle at 4 and it's greater than, so it's going to go in this direction. If it's greater than or equal to 4, like the one underneath this, then we would have a solid dot or a closed circle there at the positive 4, and we're going to slide to the right. For x is less than 4, again, that's not included because it doesn't have the line underneath, so that's going to be an open circle, and we're going to the left. We would put a 4 there. I guess I should have drawn that arrow on the top like I did the others. And then x is less than or equal to 4. Now we're including it, so we can have a solid dot, and we're going to the left. Equations with more than one variable that can be rearranged and solved for a specific variable using inverse operations, okay? Those are called literal equations. So those are when we are using a formula and solving for one piece of the formula. So here's an example. Solve A equals BH for H. So again, this is a formula for area of a rectangle. So area equals base times height. And they want us to solve for the height. So what they're asking us to do is to get that H by itself. This operation is base times height. So we're just going to use inverse operations. So we would divide by the base on both sides to get that H by itself. Because here, what we're left with on the right side, b divided by b is just 1. So that would be 1h. Okay, so those are going to cancel out. So if a divided by b equals h, and my h is by itself, that's a literal equation.